Hey everyone, welcome to Movies for Thoughts. Today we're going to be discussing the Kingsman Secret Service made in 2014. It's part of the larger Kingsman trilogy. Our movie starts with Exy, our main character, who doesn't live in the best of neighborhoods. His mom, I believe, has lost her husband and is in a lot of debt. And as a result, she ends up remarrying, but the person that she remarries is pretty scummy and treats her bad and it treats Eggsy bad, which leads to Eggsy's search for purpose because he now is looking for a way to escape not only his father but also his home and like the life that he's currently living. And because of this, it led him to the Kingsmen, which is an individual that protects the world underneath the shadows, and he undergoes trials in order to become a true Kingsman, and he eventually ends up through the movie and through plot twist of an evil genius scientist trying to overthrow the world using radioactive rays from their phones. He ends up saving the world and earning his title as a true Kingsman. I think the Kingsman Secret Service, it teaches us lessons of what it truly means to be, most notably, a gentleman, and what a true gentleman means. That it's not necessarily about what's on the outside, but it's what makes a gentleman on the inside.
Yeah, so that was the quick synopsis of the film, but for sake of the plot, we start off in a bar where Eggsy and his mates are having a few pints with the lads. But his stepfather's thugs are also in that pub, and they basically bully them. So Eggsy decides to steal one of their cars, right? And it was this whole fiasco with the police. He ends up getting arrested, but Eggsy's real father actually used to be in this secret organization, Kingsman, before he died, with this gentleman called Harry Hart, who's a leader in this organization. And he knows who Harry is, but not really. He's only seen him a few times, and he has his number engraved on a medal that was given to him when his father died. So he calls this number, tells the operator, Oxford's not bros. It's this whole secret code thing. And Harry Hart ends up bailing Eggsy out of jail, right? So they end up going to the bar, and his stepfather ends up bullying Eggsy even more. But Harry Hart steps in and tells him please just leave us and to enjoy a pint by ourselves. But then he's like, who the hell are you? You know? And so they get into this whole fight where Harry Hart, the secret spy, ends up beating these 10 guys. Again, Eggsy goes home now, and Harry Hart's like, don't tell anyone what happened. I'll spray them with a memory spray. But he gets home, and his stepfather starts interrogating him, and he's holding a cleaver, threatening to cut Eggsy's head off. And he's like, who the F were you with in that pub? Who the F were you with in that pub? And then he's like, I don't know. I swear I don't know. And see what he just did there? He stuck true to his promise. He didn't tell anyone who Harry Hart was. He didn't tell anyone Harry Hart was a member of the secret organization. And Harry, who's a spy, is of course listening to all this because he put a eavesdropping device on Eggsy to see if he would stick true to his promise, right? So that's the first thing that you need to know about Eggsy's personality, right? Mm-hmm. And so he ends up escaping and going to the Taylors, which is the location of Kingsman's base. And Harry Hart sees him and introduces him to the trials to become the next Kingsman. So what do you think about that phase of the movie, and how does it relate to being a gentleman?
Yeah, I think honestly that phase was, first of all, it's telling of Harry's character, like you said, that he's genuine and sticks true to his word, even if it's against his well-being. And I think that's one of the qualities that they were trying to push to or to infer makes a gentleman. That a gentleman in himself keeps his promises. A gentleman is a man that sticks to his words, even if it's against his own detriment. And I think that was kind of the first looks of Harry truly being a gentleman and truly being part of the Kingsmen, and being kind of like his father. And I believe that Harry kind of said that he resembled his father a lot, and I think that that whole scene as he's going through this internal battle with an external battle with his father or his stepfather at this, or his mother's boyfriend at this point, and the fact that he's now having to deal with like maybe going into this new world or understanding like what his father truly was as a Kingsman. I think like this is setting up the scene for something greater.
Yeah, so like you already know, like tough circumstances already tells us a lot that this child has been able to survive and has now grown into like almost a fully fledged man.
Yeah.
And you know, being a gentleman, and I quote, has nothing to do with the circumstances of one's birth. Being a gentleman is something one learns. And you know, Eggsy may not have been the most gentlemanly at times, but he certainly is a good person on the inside. And when we get to this training stage at Kingsman, at the Kingsman training base, we're gonna see that all these Oxford educated, Cambridge educated, King's College London educated, rich folks, the guys at least, are a bunch of essentially classist assholes. So, like, if anyone were to be a gentleman, you'd think it would be them. But they treat other people like shit. They treat women like shit. Even though if anyone were to be a gentleman by their birth, it would have been them. So that's a message that this movie has already told us in not even the first half yet. Being a gentleman has nothing to do with the circumstances of one's birth. Mm-hmm. It's about what's on the inside. Being a gentleman is something that one learns.
Yeah, I also think that you could tell who's a true gentleman, especially when they're put through the fire. Like going back to like Eggsy's situation a little bit, like when he was being threatened by his father, right? That is, or his stepfather, mother's, whatever. He's going through this like precarious situation that's pushing him to his limits, because you could see exactly that he's really stressed and that he's looking for any opportunity to leave this confrontation. But even still, through this, like, the easiest way to resolve this of just exposing Harry, he sticks true to his word, which shows that he has the qualities of what makes a gentleman. I feel like what makes this quote more understandable is understanding that when someone is born into like this, into what people might consider being a gentleman, it kind of gives them this this kind of sense of entitlement that like, oh, I'm a gentleman, I'm better than you, like, and that's truly it then questions the fact of what really is a gentleman to begin with. Like, what makes one a gentleman? Like, but how do you know what makes someone a gentleman if you don't understand in itself what a gentleman is? A gentleman isn't necessarily about having wealth or looking a certain way or being a certain race speaking a certain way, which the movie goes into detail in, but it's more about necessarily holding values to holding like these esteemed values that you follow no matter the circumstances.
Yeah, manners maketh man. No Kingsman podcast is complete without talking about that Harry Hart quote. Mm-hmm. Manners maketh man. It's one of the most iconic lines in the movie, and again, like you just said, emphasizes that true gentlemen are defined by their behavior, not their status, not their socioeconomic status, not the way they speak, not the clothes they wear, right? Mm-hmm. And this brings me to my next point, which is still very similar because we're on the topic of being a true gentleman. But this is also like a nice subtle hint that we got from the director, right? So a lot of the like good writers, good filmmakers, good authors, what they do sometimes to when they want to include symbols in their works, they often will drop the title or a name of another book or movie, and that movie is relevant to the topic and it represents something. Mm-hmm. So when Eggsy's walking with Harry and Harry is telling Eggsy all this, that manners maketh man, it's your behavior that counts. Eggsy's trying to process this in his mind, and in all honesty, he name drops a bunch of British movies that have this essential idea mm-hmm. of it's what you do and what's on the inside that counts. And I don't remember all of them. They're very, very British movies. I honestly have not heard of them before. But the one movie that we all probably know about, since it's very famous, starring Julia Roberts, is Pretty Woman, right? So you know Pretty Woman, right? You've seen it before? Okay, so it's basically this, how to put it nicely, this sex worker, which is a sex worker, which, you know, it's not the most honorable thing to do for a living, but that's her unfortunate circumstances. She used to make a living, but throughout the movie, she's gonna meet this one guy that's like a really respectful person, and he admires her, and he just wants to put her in a position where she doesn't have to resort to things like that.
Yeah.
Make her a better person. But the Julia Roberts character, she was a good person initially. So once you eliminated the negative things away from your life, you could become a proper lady, like Eggsy says, or in his own case, a gentleman, right? So you should watch Pretty Woman, by the way. It's a really, really good movie.
Yeah, to our listeners as well, like, you should take the opportunity to watch Kingsman, watch, like, like, these are pretty good shows, and the values that they teach, it speaks to, like, everyday life in a good way.
That's true. So, I mean, by the way, guys, realize that all this is like dropped in the movie. The movie itself is a very fun movie, has a lot of action sequences, very high quality production design, starring, you know, Samuel Jackson, a very funny guy. You already know that his quotes are gonna be hilarious as hell. So make sure to watch it. It's on Netflix. You can rent it on Amazon TV, Apple TV, bro, Amazon Prime. Yeah. I've been watching too many shows recently. Yeah.
That's a good thing.
That's a good thing. That is a good thing. You know, movies matter, bro. Movies make thoughts that we need to process deeply. But back to the conversation between Harry and Eggsy. He says something that's very useful, and it's that true nobility is being superior to your former self, not your fellow man. And so Harry Hart did not come up with this himself, but Ernest Hemingway did, a very great writer. And you can already see how great the screenwriting is by using a Hemingway quote to intensify and significant, like, make significant the movie's theme. You know, it's being being superior to your former self. That's true nobility.
That's true. I think, first of all, the quote is great. The reference to the quote is definitely great. I feel like this emphasizes the message that the movie is trying to preach in the first place. And I think, taking a deeper look at the quote, there is nothing noble in being superior to your fellow men. Understands that at the end of the day, we're all human, and we're all human, and we all have our own flaws. You might be a little bit better than another person is, but at the same time, you're most likely worse than another person is as well. So it's not always about necessarily being better than another person, because there's too many people in the world. You're never going to be better than everybody else. You're not perfect. Nobody's perfect. You're never going to be perfect. But what makes you a good person, or what makes you a person that's able to grow, is when you realize that you need to be better than who you were yesterday, and who you were last week or last year, or even right this second. Because when you're understanding that it's about self-growth, to becoming a better version of yourself, that's what a true man is. Because going through life, you're gonna realize that it's about growing and adapting and trying to live a life that you consider, not others, but you consider a good life to live. And I think, besides this talking, like, being a reference to, like, what a true gentleman is, I think it's also a reference to how, like, as people, we should live our lives, and as strive to be better people.
Yeah. So real. I mean, like, we didn't choose where we were born. Like Eggsy didn't choose that his father died. He didn't choose for his mom to marry his stepfather. And the Cambridge educated, Oxford educated guys like Charlie in the movie, he didn't choose for his parents to give birth to him. You know, it's all luck. You know, it's fate. God decides where you're born, who your parents are. You can't change that. The only thing you can change is yourself. wearing a 10,000 pound suit from Huntsman on Savile Row, that's an extra to being a gentleman if you can afford it. That's not something you need to wear if to be a gentleman. You don't need to know what fork you should eat with, what spoon you should use for dessert, and which glass you should use for regular water and which one for wine. That's all extras. That all comes on the side. But you need to be superior to your former self.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think it's also referencing how, like, what modern day gentleman is, because, like you were saying, like, the fancy suits and the wines and the forks and all of those, like, realistically, it's like the conceived notion of what you think about when you think about a gentleman, right? A person that treats women with respect and wears these nice suits, or drinks this fine wine. But the movie breaks the conception and shows that being a true gentleman, especially in today's day and age, is about respectful to everyone around you, but it's also about personal growth and about understanding who you are and, like, what role you can play, not only in your life but in the life of others.
You need to make the world a better place.
Yeah.
It sounds cliche. It really does, but that's the simple fact. How can you be a gentleman if you don't make the world a better place? You know, and that's what this movie teaches us, and that's why it's such a great movie. Because when you put aside all of the action and all of the classic British spy plotline, what truly makes this movie special is its themes of being a true gentleman. And that's it for today, guys, on Movies for Thoughts. We hope you enjoyed the episode, and we'll catch you guys next time.